You ever get that gut-twisting feeling like the walls are closing in, the air getting thick with tension, and the one thing you thought was steady suddenly starts to crack wide open? What if I told you Detroit was holding its breath right now, caught in the eye of a storm swirling beneath the surface of what should have been a simple summer? They say the Lions finally cracked the code on Tate Ratledge's contract saga, but don't get comfortable, because the shift in energy isn't a sigh of relief. It's the calm before another storm. Type wild in the comments if you've been sweating every minute about this team's future, because today, what was whispered in shadows is now screaming in the daylight. There's an old Detroit heartbeat pulsing beneath the roar, a city that's battled disappointment, that's punched through heartbreak since '91 like no other, and we're all waiting to exhale or explode. Behind closed doors, insiders were biting their nails over Ratledge, the kid drafted in the second round who was dragging the whole rookie class into contract. Purgatory 32nd rounders untouched, frozen by other teams' guarantees in Houston. And Cleveland that set a precedent no one else was willing to match. The agents circled, the phone lines buzzed, the negotiations turned into a high-wire act without a net. But then, under the wire, just as the temperature flared to an unbearable fever, the Lions pulled Ratledge back from the brink. They didn't get the fully guaranteed deal that rocked Texans and Browns fans, but they did snag enough to get him. Signed in the building, ready to man the trenches at center or guard. That's supposed to be our victory, the return of normalcy. But Detroit, don't let the ink on that contract fool you. The lingering worry, the knot in the gut, it didn't disappear. It simply walked across the room to someone else. Someone heavier, Alex Anzalone, the veteran linebacker who's been a cornerstone in this defense's overwhelming identity. Yeah, the guy you count on to scramble for insurers, to wrap up the grind that no highlight reel can capture. He skipped off-season workouts, vanished from voluntary practices, and now the entire fan base is holding a hopeful, terrified breath waiting for July 19th. No guarantees in his current contract. None. Zero security. A player who's bled blue and silver, bargaining with the front office for some assurance that his loyalty won't be met with the cold shoulder. Picture that, a crucial puzzle piece in our defensive rebirth lying on the chopping block because the system turned its back on him or he's finally fighting back. The city, the fans, the players all desperate for resolution but stuck in this maddening limbo. What if Anzalone doesn't show? What if his standoff spirals into lost games, defensive chaos, a locker room fractured at the seams? If Ratledge was the unsteady step, Anzalone might be the chasm. It's the kind of tension that makes the soul of Detroit quake a team trying to rise from the ashes of the Caldwell years, to heal from decades of near misses and cruel jokers. And now, the Lions stand at a crossroads where a rookie's shaky contract is yesterday's story, and a veteran's holdout could define the season before it even starts. What if the front office misses the mark once again? What if the players we desperately need to build this defense refuse to suit up? What if this is the ceiling for this rebuild, and the window slams shut before it even creaks open? Because this isn't just dollars and paper, it's a battle for pride, for grit, for the very essence that makes Detroit Lions football bearable through all the pain. And if this domino falls, you won't believe who's next. The silence. In the locker room, the glances exchanged down low. The heavy hearts in Ford Field's tunnels, Detroit's secret fractures are showing. Because if this holdout hits the fan and fractures the defensive spine, Detroit's not just in trouble. We're on the verge of a reckoning. And now the fuse is lit. All that's left is to brace for the explosion. Enough silence roar. Now or forever be forgotten. Because Detroit's heart is pounding like a drum standing on the edge of a cliff, knowing that if this holdout turns sour, if Anzalone's loyalty gets torn apart in front of our eyes, everything we fought for, everything we bled through, could unravel in a matter of seconds. Do you feel it? That low, gnawing dread creeping up your spine like the ghosts of past heartbreaks haunting Ford Field every time the season turns to ash. From that 0-16 nightmare to Calvin collapsing into silence, haunted by injuries he could neither escape nor explain, to Barry Sanders walking away in tears he'd never show and Jim Caldwell dismissed after years of promise. We thought history had buried old demons, but now, in 2023, they're back, clawing to the surface, because no matter how bright the future looks on paper, no matter how many new faces we inject into this team, it's the men on the field, the veterans fighting to keep this city's pride alive, that are truly the heart of Detroit. And right now, Alex Anzalone, our gritty, relentless linebacker, stands on the brink of being sacrificed at the altar of front office greed. It's a story drenched in irony. He's been the backbone of that Detroit defensive resurgence, battling every snap, fighting through injuries, setting the tone, rallying the troops, even when the shadow of doubt loomed large. Yet here he is, caught on a crossfire of contract negotiations that threaten to leave him stranded, to turn him from a leader into a martyr. What if he walks? What if his absence sparks chaos, questions the toughness of this newfound defense, erodes the chemistry we've worked so hard to build? How many more years of endless hope have we squandered, only to watch promises crumble in the blink of an eye? When we think about the lines, those heartbreaks at Lambeau, the gut-wrenching playoff losses, the unfulfilled promise of Sheldon White's draft picks, the fleeting flashes of greatness that leave us craving more, we understand this franchise isn't just about wins and losses. It's blood, it's soul, it's survival. And right now, Detroit's history repeats itself in cruel, unforgiving cycles. The specter of 2008, a team bursting with potential only to fall apart in the final games, looms large. Or that 2014 season, a wild card shot that slipped away in the final seconds. Look at Stafford's heroics, CJ's record-breaking seasons, Manuel's near-miraculous escapes, each moment screaming that we've touched greatness but never quite grasped it. Now, with the current roster, the potential is undeniable. Jared Goff's resurgence, the emergence of young studs like Amon-Ra, the fortified offensive line, a defense quietly retooling, yet all of it teeters on this precarious edge. We're rebuilding with a checkered past that refused to fade, haunted by flashbacks of sneaking into the playoffs in 2016 only to fall flat, of that gut-wrenching season finale last year when we shot ourselves in the foot, of opportunities wasted, of hope deferred. So let's ask, what happens if Anzalone's contract gets left in limbo? What if the veteran reporter of our gritty resurgence calls it quits, and Jim Schwartz's gritty defense turns into a chaotic mess? Will Jared Goff's magic be enough to mask the cracks? Can this team defy the cursed history and finally punch through, or are we headed for another heartbreaking disappointment? Every inch of Ford Field spirit is clenched tight, praying for a miracle, fearing the worst because second chances come once in a lifetime, and if this season's not it, if Detroit's greatness is snuffed out by greed or apathy, who will? Be left to pick up the pieces, to carry the torch, to remember that this city's blood runs blue for a reason. And as the clock ticks down toward July 19th, as negotiations rage behind the scenes and the locker room braces for impact, ask yourself, are we witnessing the death of a lion or the rebirth of a beast so fierce and relentless that even the gods in football can't stop it? Because when the dust settles and billionaire suits weigh loyalty against greed, Detroit's very soul may hang in the balance, waiting to see if this team survives, if this city recovers, or whether the next chapter will be written in the blood and tears of a lion who refused to lie down on the shadow path of history.